know a guy's tendency to either go high or low when you catch him, then you feel real confident that every time you catch him, he's going to do that. And it's just that type of deal. It's not so much an experience thing. Even though he's a young driver, Hunter's a young driver, it's not an experience thing as much as it is just inexperience with racing with these guys.
Oh, trouble. Look, one car on its side. Partis is there. Spinning around is Mark Gibson. He gets tagged again. At least 5 cars are involved. Partis down on the right side of your screen. The 42 car was running third. Gibson, his car. There's Andy Hillenberg in the Stan Hoover car number 80. Some heavy damage in the front of that car. We'll show you Mark Gibson's car. There's the Jana-King Ford. There's some flame there out of the vent, out of the fuel vent. Gibson's still sitting in the car, the window net down. That's a signal to the safety crews that he is awake and alert.
Well, if he's awake and alert, oh, look at the front end damage of that car. You know, Mark Gibson had a terrible, terrible lick at Talladega last year in one of the Arca races, and Hillenberg's car will not roll. Oh, it's on. There's some smoke inside the car, and he's bailing out of that thing.
He gets out of Stan Hoover's Ford. Last year, Mike Chiquetti.
Oh, and they're still crashing. Bob Kelly just now is going toward a safety car. The truck fortunately got out of the way. Man, oh, man.
Bob Kelly in only his second ever Arca start. There is Mark Gibson, and he is not a happy camper. He is very, very upset.
I can see him walking away because, as I said, he had a terrible, terrible lick at Talladega last October.
There's a Danny Partis car just to the bottom of your screen there beside that yellow wrecker. That's the 42 car, Jim and Judy Gardner Motorsports. That's the young man who will run for Rookie of the Year in Winston Cup. Let's see if we can see what triggered this. Boy, Gibson up on his side, back down on all 4.
Look at Shane Dole's come. The yellow car on the inside is Shane. He's trying to spin through this deal. Meanwhile, Joe Ruttman goes in and hits the 59 car. Shane picks up some sheet metal.
Farther down the trial, well, there's Hillenberg in the 80 car with part of the front end of the Jim Dandy car crammed under it. That's why his car wouldn't go any further.
And what happens is Gibson just lost control and goes back across the racetrack right in front of Dan Partis in the 42 car.
Wow.
Kind of just like a tire went flat or something.
It looked just like, if you remember back to the opening Kimmel's accident, it looked the same way. It got a little bit out of shape, and when he corrected, it came back and shot straight across the racetrack. Partis had nowhere to go and drove him up on his side.
Now, from the Jim Dandy in-car, let's see Joe Ruttman's viewpoint from this. Got hit from behind by Shane Yoder. Spins around, and he will come into contact again. Okay, now from our blimp angle.
Watch Gibson, Kyle, as he comes off the corner, and all of a sudden the car just goes around a very slow spin.
And he corrects. And when he corrects, he comes back across, and he just gets drove up on his side. Great shot.
All the way up on its side. The car comes back down on all 4s. Look at Shauna Robinson just make it by.
And Bobby Hamilton Jr., both of those did a great job of splitting. That could have been really bad.
Well, let's check in the garage. I think Bill has caught up with Andy Hillenberg. Bill?
Stopping him as he's walking down pit road. What did you see, Andy?
Oh, they just started wrecking up there. We really had a pretty good race car. I was really loose early in the run, and they just started wrecking, and I hit some debris or something, and I was on the binders pretty hard, flat side of the right side. Thought I made it through, and as soon as I got through, I think I must have cut a tire and spun down the grass. And never say die. We took off running and caught on fire. And guy said, just bail out, so I did, and I saw him still wrecking. So that's a good thing I got an A in little Mr. Raymond's gym class in high school.
Thanks, Andy. Andy Hillenberg, he's okay, but he's out of the race for today. Managed to save the steering wheel, though, guys.
Wow, we were talking about the big guns. Well, some of the big guns just took a bullet here in the early laps of the First Plus Financial Arca 200 at Daytona. Arca action always exciting, and we're just getting started. Back with more in a moment.
Back at Daytona International Speedway, we are under caution in this race because of a multi-vehicle accident that occurred coming off corner number 4. We'll replay it here and show you exactly what happened. That is Mark Gibson getting sideways coming off of corner number 4, correcting, going into the wall head-on. Dan Pardis hits him. That car on its side for a while, back on all fours, and you can see several other cars becoming involved. There were at least 6 vehicles involved in all, including Mark Gibson, Dan Pardis, Andy Hillenberg, and Bob Kelly. We have heard from Andy Hillenberg. We've seen some of the other drivers walk away, and so at this point, we don't believe there were any injuries, but certainly a very grinding and scary crash on the 15th lap of this 80-lap Arca 200 here at Daytona International Speedway. Well, we had multi-camera coverage of that incident, including from the Bud 1 airship, which is flying about 1,000 feet over Daytona International Speedway. The eye in the sky provided some great camera shots of that incident in corner number 4. Let's go back up top to Jerry Punch.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. Let's show the folks at home the list of drivers that we have that were involved in the incident here a moment ago. Of course, you saw Mark Gibson's car up on its side, heavily damaged, the 59 car of Gibson. Joe Ruttman's Jim Dandy car involved. Danny Pardis was involved. Shane Yoder, Andy Belmont, Shane Doles, Bob Kelly. Those are the cars that were involved. The most heavily damaged, again, Hillenberg, Gibson, Ruttman, and Danny Pardis. Shane Yoder continues. Belmont continues. Shane Doles continues. And Bob Kelly had some significant front-end damage.
Man, that's Joe Ruttman's car. And some heavy damage in front of that car.
And he had come all the way from 19th starting spot to be running at about 6th in less than 15 laps.
He definitely had a car that could have won the race.
Joe Ruttman won this race back in 1982, and he was driving for the Rouleau brothers today, the same people he drove for when he finished 4th here just 4 years ago. But his day is over. After a grinding crash here at Daytona on lap 14, we await the green flag, which we'll have when we come back. Back at Daytona International Speedway here, pit road is open now. They have cleaned up some of the debris coming out of turn 4. Bobby Gerhardt is our early leader. If you just joined us, we are under caution here for a grinding accident out of turn 4, which involved a total of 7 cars, some very minorly, but the most heavily damaged, those of Andy Hillenberg, Mark Gibson, Joe Ruttman, and Danny Pardis. Those were the 4 that were damaged the most heavily. Mike Swain Jr. on pit road, and Bill Weber is there.
And he's got plenty of company. Now, this is very interesting. Some crew chiefs believe they can go 60 laps on a tank of fuel here. Other guys aren't willing to take that chance. Most know they can't go that far. Maybe Mike Swain Jr. believes he can. At any rate, it's a full tank of gas for him, 4 Hoosier tires, and he'll head back out. And if they get the fuel mileage they need, he will be able to go the distance here with about 60 laps to go. Taking a long time, making sure they get the windshield clear. Just sitting on pit road now, and then slowly begins to ease away. So Mike Swain Jr. and several other drivers, including Bill Baird, on pit road for service now.
Kyle, I think they can run 60 laps here at Daytona with the restrictor plate engines. I think this is good strategy. This will probably be the only stop they make.
Yeah, this is great strategy for these guys. You know, if it's going to come down to these guys being in the race, winning and losing, this is it.
Take a look at a moment ago, this accident in turn 4. Benny, you're going to circle a windshield that came out of probably Mark Gibson's car, right at the top of your screen. Now, watch that.
Watch the windshield. And again, fortunately, these windshields are not made of glass. So it comes down in one piece rather than shattering all over the racetrack. We assume that came from Gibson's car. We really don't know. We assume that's where it came from.
You would think it would be Gibson or Pardis. Both those cars were backwards, and that was air getting inside the car. We don't see that much anymore, Kyle, but apparently the car was backwards enough to get some air to shove it out.
Yeah, it used to, before we started running the side windows and the roof flaps and everything that Gary Nelson and the NASCAR and the engineers have come up with over the last 4 or 5 years, that used to be the first thing to pop out. The car would get a little bit sideways, the car would fill up with air, boom, it'd blow the front glass out. And a lot of times it was glass, it was actual glass, and it would just shatter all over the racetrack. So this is, a lot of things they've done have kept that from happening. I don't know why that one happened.
And, you know, we used to also see, as you mentioned before, the roof flaps and the fender skirts, the side skirts, the car would get sideways and get up and begin to tumble. That car stayed on its side and came back down on all fours and then slid along the racetrack. And I think that has a lot to do with some wind tunnel research.
That has tons to do with wind tunnel research. And everybody talks about the explosion of the sport and how popular the sport is. The sport's popular because of things like that. It's a safe sport. You see things like this happen, and everybody gets out of the car and walks away from it. So, you know, there's been so many technical advances over the last 5 or 6 years Everybody talks about the stands and all this stuff, but what's going on in that garage area that affects Winston Cup, Busch, and the Arca Series and all the other NASCAR series is phenomenal.
I remember coming here in the early 70s and seeing a red Farmer tumble end over end down through the tri-oval area in one of the Busch Series events back then. Back then it was called Late Model Sportsman. And just imagine 4 or 5 years ago, Mark Gibson would have tumbled 7 or 8 times. Now he gets out of the car, walks away, and comes over and gives an interview. I mean, that's what has happened with safety in stock car racing in both NASCAR and the Arca Series. Still under caution for the first time today. Back with more in just a moment.